Okay, so the time has come to begin with our opening prayers. Oh yes, that's it. Jumbo, Jumde, Jumbo, Jumbo, Yanda, Zobe, Zande, Rebodo, Shadun, Deva, Devara, Shikon, Jikin, Kimba, Kalu, Juba, Lana, Neba, Lama, Mena, Jumbo, Sange, Jumde, Deve, Yawa, Jaya, Tuba, Judo, Jazu, Jumbo, Junde, Jimbo, Jumbo, Yanda, Zombe, Sange, Rikada, Shasu, Demba, Devara, Shikon, Jide, Jimbo, Jivu, Duve, Kalu, Jura, Lana, Meba, Lana, Minange, Jumbo, Sange, Jumde, Begewa, Jaya, Tuba, La, Chaze, Judo, Jevu, Kande, Kanye, Zoho, Jilande, Sajen, Deva, Gomba, Dumurne, Mane, Jene, Na, Joje, Zun, Dese, Kebo, Kyula, Jazu, Nanda, Gomba, Jodu, Ishi, Yasu, Seji, Lumbo, Khapa, Jede, Zuna, Lame, Gombo, Juni, Jula, Jazu, Tawe, Sedon, Rawa, Gyula, Jazu, Juna, Sibo, Suma, Ji, Nyame, Kiki, Gyula, Jazu, Gombo, Tuji, Jendemba, Tamsi, Kebe, Tomba, Sona, Yende, Yasu, Jende, Jela, Jazu, Tabe, Teja, Jawa, Gil, Kebe, Nyeso, Leju, Jidu, Dunda, Jidu, Jidu, Rove, Layand, Laba, Dala, Rabdune, Shinji, Dambo, Yedende, Gendu, Laya, Jaz, Dirba, Chiyan, Mejashi, Gewa, Punsun, Sobaraja, Rangi, Sene, Yonsu, Dene, Sange, Tembayin, Karma, Raji, Marmena, Gyuma, Silva, Shurda, Milan, Lotan, Tindabu, Duji, Chuna, De Tarata, Sonam, De, Damji, Zipa, Popon, Tonne, Kungu, Adam, Nada, Sive, Latrunde, Sive, Solen, Loan, Page 3. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent, destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When the supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you, who are wise then, I prostrate. with pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the three worlds, winner of the best Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like the spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, three worlds are not. Incomparably wise ones, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one God, to thusness I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to that dharma which pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realization, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits, my sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by waves of aging, sickness, and death.
Khapa kunju summa dāngi tōpa dēchē nā jumdēndē gyāvē chāgō bōmbō rē lāngi lāngi kēntē chāmbō Sembe gendu chambo tabuchi to shode de ze jomdende samo na wa shi jawe chege nanda tenge zenla nyongor shuzo yang bi ze chanju sambo jambo baba chere ze wanju shera ge haro do jambo samo cheba nila namba tashi kumbo dala yara yenge to war namba tao tene sange gi tu sedan demba shari Janju samba chenpo baba chele se wanju la tike che meso tiki go kala sherabye paru du chenpa samo chebo chupa duwa de ditana lapa taupa cha tiki che mepa dan janju samba chenpo baba chele se wanju ki setan tenpa shari dan tenpu la tike che meso shari po rije po kala la sherabye paru du chenpa samo chepa chupa duwa de ditana Dawa jade bumbo ngabo de dalan kajingi somba naba yanda pa jesu tao zu tomba o tomba ni zuzo zule tomba ni shema yin tomba ni le kya su shema yin Deshin do toa da duje dan nambar sheba da tomba o jari hu Deta jo danje tomba ni de zini meba ma jeba ma gaba chema me Simadan chawa meba kangwa meba o chari hu ne dawa na tomba ni la sume sorwa me duje na me sheme na wa sheba me mime na wa me na me cheme lume yime zume dame dime rume rija me chume do me je kame kone ike kame ike nambar shebe kange bado yame Mariba zeba me kashi sebe bado yame do Deshin do dume wada kunju mudan koba da lame isi me toba me matoba yame do Sharibu tena wena janju samba na toba me be shira ke paru do chimba latin jine de simla jiba me Raba me de chinje lo le chindo tene nyame le debe tar chindu du sundu nambar shube sange tamche kyang shira ke paru do chimba latene lana me baya da ba tobe chanju do ombar sobar sanje so de da wana shira ke paru do chimbe nga riba chimbe nga lana me be nga me nyamba da nyambe nga dunga tamche ratu shivar chibe nga Mizumana demba sheba jade shira ke paru do chimbe nga me bati yata gati gati para sanga de bodhi yeswa Daribu chanju samba chimbe da shira ke paru do chimbe sama la para jao dene jom dene dene shinde chanju samba tempo baba jere se konju la lesu shijaba jene lesu riki bute de shino de shinde jita ke temba shindo shira ke paru do chimbe sama la chimbe jate de sheba na kya jesu yirang ho chom den dege je ka tene tene
Page 11. Thus I have heard, once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgriha on Vulture's Peak, together with a great assembly of monks and bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was totally absorbed in the concentration that examines all phenomena while profound illumination. And at the same time, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, was engaged in the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra spoke to the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, how should those of good family learn who wish to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, replied to the Venerable Shariputra, saying, O Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of good family wishes to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, should look at it like this, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is no other than form, form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, karmic formations, and consciousness are all empty. Therefore, Shariputra, all phenomena are empty without characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are neither impure nor free from impurity. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no karmic formation, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. There are no spheres of the eyes, up to no spheres of the mind. There are none of these all the way up to the sphere of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, nor is there destruction of ignorance. There are none of these all the way up to there is no old age and death, nor is there destruction of old age and death. Thus there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. No wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, all bodhisattvas hold to the wisdom gone beyond, and because there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond falsity, they reach beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times, by relying on the wisdom gone beyond, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, most perfect and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the wisdom gone beyond, the mantra of great insight, the unequaled and unsurpassed mantra, the mantra that calms all suffering, should be known as the truth, where there is no deception. The mantra of the wisdom gone beyond is proclaimed. O Shariputra, and this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn the profound wisdom gone beyond. Then the Blessed One rose from that concentration and praised the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, very good, O son of good family. It is exactly like that. The profound wisdom gone beyond should be practiced exactly as you have said, and then the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the whole gathering in the world with its gods, men, anti-gods, and spirits, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. So ends the noble discourse on the essence of the wisdom gone beyond.
Oh yeah, adereno to sa nima chanjo larim. Tan lamji rimba sheba kaps babare. Chedan danjo lamji rimba sen. Tan chanjo lamji rimba sen des. Tan lamji rimba tikete. Rangi nyamsu lane rangi yula keba cheba la. Ani nyebar to ta lam tembe. Ani shini tenzu sing ta nyebar to kechebo. Shini tenzu kazu jiga sambo yoba ina yang. Ani lam yula keba yorwa. Lam saba yula kya yoba. Ani shini mademba ina lam toba yula kya kawa. O tati nyanga sida chate yore sung.
Now we resume our Sunday morning class on the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment. This is the occasion when we turn our attention to the stages of the path to enlightenment. These stages of practice, these stages of the path are for the purpose of producing realization in the mind. In order for this to come about, one first relies upon their spiritual mentor, the guru. This is essential, this is indispensable, and as pure and sincere as the reliance is upon the spiritual mentor, that fast, that profound will come the realization in the mind. Without reliance upon the spiritual mentor, none of this will be produced. Now, whatever the worldly sort of craft or trade one studies, one does so training, following the instruction of another, a mentor who gives guidance. And this is essential in any sort of trade and instruction, but it is even more essential, more indispensable when the practice is not of the sort that is tangible, not the sort that is immediately apparent visually. It's the training that develops in the mind itself, and is the training for producing realization in the mind itself. And in this training, an instructor guidance is all the more crucial. Now, to proceed with no experience, to rely upon one who is distant from the goal, is not constructive. The progression is from the very beginning of the path to the end, the state of Buddhahood, and all along the way, one must rely upon one's spiritual mentor. And the way in which one properly relies upon the spiritual mentor and that which makes it possible, all of these conditions are present in the text. The proper way to rely upon the spiritual mentor, who is the very root of the path, is the section that we turn our attention to now. For the purpose of producing realization in the mind, one relies upon the spiritual mentor. And the training may be divided into two sorts, the formal meditation session and the intercession period, the period between formal meditation sessions. This first, the formal meditation session, has 6 preliminary rites. These 6 preliminary rites are cleaning your room and arranging the symbols of enlightened body, speech, and mind, obtaining offerings honestly and arranging them beautifully, and third, adopting the 7-featured sitting position of Vairochana on a comfortable seat, after which you take refuge, develop bodhicitta, and so on, while in an especially virtuous frame of mind. Involved in these is properly identifying the perfect refuge. This we have this we have completed. We turn our attention now to the way in which one goes for refuge.
다 제약이 고도 차대 여러스 배낭한조스 랑기 제베 최다 최냐면 지기 여바이나 아니 최소야 줘야게 고 당보디 아니 잠도 차그래스 제가 잠도 개정 보시라래 제가 당보 거기 장주고 쌤 개발라 원로고 조아가 같이 보러 디나네 당보디 잠도 개정 보 차대 여러스 제가 다 개비 뭐 손에 아니 잠도 도당이 내가도 시험을 보고 여러다 디네 잠도 도당이
Refuge, for any individual who is earnestly engaged in practice, is the very starting point, the very gate that opens into the activities of the Buddha Dharma. It is the gate to all the actions involved in the Buddha Dharma. So if one is authentically practicing in the Buddha Dharma, this is the entry point, and this makes it so crucial. And so, in order to develop bodhicitta, one first engages in these preliminary rites, and involved in the preliminary rites is this crucial moment of going for refuge. This involves first identifying the perfect refuge, this we've done, and then we now concern ourselves with the proper way to go for refuge.
아니 장기 제바도 취수도 말해 이중기 삼번매나 아니 랑기 내가 가르쳐 봐 있나요 코하기 타르바토도 귤라두고 말해 딱 인지 침복이 인지 침복이 로 맞아와 있나 아니 담지 캠박이 고방이 귤라두고 말했어 어디 가서는 쉬 잘해서
Now, as I have said, without refuge, no action, no undertaking can be considered the Buddha Dharma practice. Without renunciation, no activity whatsoever will become cause for liberation from cyclic existence. And without great compassion, no activity whatsoever will conduce to ultimate omniscience.
제가 인도마다 맞아 겸로 귤라 깨고래 겸로 귤라 깨라 딱 자기 가리거래스나 당보디 직바 거기 동행을 모시는 동행을 직바 잡아다 직바디 아무것도 거르스 되면은 아니 군조를 겹 천도불로 쟁 말에 겹 세야게 겹 얘기 말했어 제가 직바디 여바이나 아니 겹 천도불로 얘기를 아니 로디 예바이나 다 수익 투래 간데스 겹 그래서 다 저니 바디 내온도 상가 아니 지네 겹이 아니 군조 숨 고고 여바디 아니 제그래 렌텔라 이 대바디 그래서 겹위들라 겹투게 누가 여바다 겹투고 여베게랑 이체다 대바디 그래서 이 창소나 아니 겹이 깨야겠다 고추가 해서
In order to develop refuge, what is required in the first case? Fear is required. One must develop a true fear of the suffering of cyclic existence. This involves first realizing actually that cyclic existence is in the nature of suffering. So this is the first requirement. One must have fear, and this must be an authentic fear. And when one feels this fear sincerely, then one will naturally look to find protection and refuge from the cause of this fear, and one will be able to identify the three jewels as just those individuals who are capable of protecting one from their fear, the cause of their fear, cyclic existence. And as the three jewels are able to provide this protection, and one gains certainty and conviction that this is the case, one develops the faith of confidence in the refuge.
타고 정하나가 정은 동에 여바다 고정하나가 강에 여바다 되게 직과 여바다 하고서나 아니 거기에 정하들 타려게 탑시 땡기러 와서 저거도야 밀에 잡 저거도야 가르치도 탑시 전에 아니 그 저거도 왔어. 뒷나신 말아서 거액이 두면 하나도 나도 거액 나나 대일이 거액이 두면이 뭐시 아니 두면들 거기 집보다 남자들 매나 아니 거액이 홀이 연된도 따지네 아니 간다 잡세야 로 게임 말해서
For example, a prisoner locked away in the prison, unless they first acknowledge their plight, the hardship and pain and suffering involved in imprisonment, it won't occur to them to try to liberate themselves, escape from prison. And so a prisoner realizes all the hardship entailed in their imprisonment, and then looks to find a way to escape. Perhaps someone will intercede on their behalf and allow them in such a way that will allow them to escape. Similarly, we are imprisoned in cyclic existence and must realize that cyclic existence entails great suffering. Continued great suffering is a cause for continued fear and anxiety. When these are present, when we feel this fear and anxiety, then in earnest, we look to refuge, a protection from the causes of our fear.
도시 대대에 제단 이유도 마찬가지로 점루디 점루 유디 당부 모션부터 유점루 가르치는 가르치게 버래 점루 깨를 가르쳐 버래스 다 좋아디 당을 다 딜랜드를 점루 깨발라 당부 코알라 동네 법변다 점루 거기 견주 통 예송기 견주 통 아니 딜레다 직바도 남자 딜레 타래 요바도 셰바체 거기 교연도 통화다 될라 왜 지구다 남자 끼었는데 아니 될라 껴봐야 유바 군주가 지랑이 격투고 유바 이치 디니 상황이나 아니 다에 거기다 잠르고 있다 주당본이 상황에서 다 네가라야 다 티버 침묵이 있다 월 당본이 상황에 대해서만 되더라.
The causes for the mind that goes for refuge must be identified. What is required? What is required to produce the mind that goes for refuge? The faults, the drawbacks that beset us in samsara, cyclic existence, must be recognized. The pain and discontents of the lower realms must be recognized. When these are recognized, then fear comes naturally, and the desire for liberation from the bondage of fear too follows naturally. So these are required. This is required. Fear is first required. But with this fear, in a state of fear, in a state of anxiety, we look to find where and who we may find protection from. And if we identify a protector, a refuge that will potentially liberate us from cyclic existence and its anxieties, then confidence that they certainly do have the potential and capability to protect us may arise. And when these are present, when fear and confident faith in the refuge are present, these two essential causes for the mind going for refuge are present and complete.
아니 기부숨이 랑기 잠도 수수수 요레스 가르스나다 년송기 동엘레 직시자 아니 텔레캡이 네바 예바 군절의 이체네 잠도 체로나 아니 기부 충목이 잠도스 어디세 다양 코에도 동네 코코알라 코코나 동네지랑 진도 동거는 코에게 직발다 텔레 탈도 올로지 아니 텔레 겹도 네바 군절의 예바 이체네 잠도 체바디 아니 기부 드링이 잠로스 다 되네 대고 침부 잠로 생에디 다 인지 침부 심바 거를 생랍사로 어쩌단다 랑기 지벌 삼로 마다마체 신 동엘레 나르와라 직시 따바다 아니 텔레교가 네고 군조로 요바 이체네 아니 인지 로본도 따네 아니 잠로 잡아디 대고 침부 잠로서 잠로 좀 내데 요레스 무슨
As I have described before, there are three scopes or three capacities. These describe individuals of different capacity, and each sort of individual has their own refuge. individuals of lesser capacity are fearful of suffering experienced in the lower realms, and they look for protection from such suffering and identify the three jewels as protection, and so go for refuge. And this outlook of theirs is the outlook and the refuge of an individual of inferior capacity. An individual of middling capacity recognizes that cyclic existence is essentially suffering and discontent, and looks for liberation from the suffering and discontent, and identifies the three jewels as able to prevent that suffering, and goes for refuge. And this is the refuge of an individual of middling capacity. Now, the Mahayanas, the individual of greatest capacity, is inspired by, influenced by, under the sway of great compassion. Not only is such an individual fearful for their own sake, but they recognize all sentient beings experience pain and fear and a wish to be liberated from their fears. And so, through the force of great compassion, on behalf of all sentient beings, such an individual goes for refuge, and this is the Mahayana refuge.
대반이디 상고 이인바체 네 강라야 아니 신 동안래 나라 메시베게 인지 침복이 온게 아니 이 잠로 쳐바테 아니 투모 많이 배 잠로스 어디 투모 많이 배 잠로스 그래스 다 근데 이들 단단 말하면서 다 먼저 가래 다 디나 잠로 숨만 가르치고 이거래스 아 가르치고 그래스 저와 땅서나 다 먼저 가르치고 그래서나 아니 대바 침복이 잠로 치고 이거래스 인지 신 동안이 나와서 메시베게 아니 안데 메시바라 삼로 땅에 아니 딜레 껴베 니가 군조를 여봐다 아니 배 군조들 심제 탐지 동안에 껴두고 여봐 어딘데 이치기 왕이 아니 구롱전에 아니 인지 다 인지 계고 여래서 뭐 잠도 치고 여래서
When describing refuge, refuge is also referred to as common refuge and uncommon refuge. Common refuge is refuge undertaken with these two causes present. Uncommon refuge, of course, has these first two causes, but in addition, also present is great compassion, making this refuge uncommon refuge. In such a case, an individual finds the fear and suffering experienced by other sentient beings unbearable and goes to refuge so that they may be liberated from their suffering. And this makes this form of refuge uncommon refuge, and we call it an uncommon refuge. So as there are these three, which of these three applies to us? It is the Mahayana refuge, this third, that applies to us. Not only is our own suffering unbearable, but the suffering of all sentient beings is unbearable, and we go for refuge. We identify the protector, the three jewels, as the source of protection from this suffering of all sentient beings, and go for refuge under the sway, by the force of great compassion. So we must develop great compassion, as it is what characterizes this third form, this uncommon refuge.
근데 이들 장마도 단다 인지 간데 부모 많이 배점도 치고 여러스 가르치는데나 다 맞아 장주섬로 장게 장주 남들인 걸로 장게 아니 뭐지 장주가 샘 고매라 조에 추루 냠에 치기 여래 근데 이들 다 점도대 가르쳐 버렸으나 대바 부모 많이 배점도 대바 좀 배점도 생기네 어디 잡도 좋아 치고 그래서
By the force of great compassion, we must go for refuge. Going for refuge in this tradition is our obligation, our responsibility, as we are training in the development of the mind of enlightenment. This is our training, this is our undertaking, and involved in the actual meditation on bodhicitta are these 6 preliminary rites. And in the 6 preliminary rites, one goes for refuge. And the refuge, the process of going for refuge must accord with the Mahayana. And therefore, we need this uncommon refuge.
아니 잼도 줄라랑 줄라 가져도 뷰 타고 잼마지 배슈 첨보도 슈 춘주만 오게요. 잼마지디 아니 유디 단다게 셰죠 유스모디 랑게 가져 창도 면돼. 어딜라 따버렸어. 또 거의 집발라 맘브라 첨보유. 아니 델라타에 겹투에 군조를 누버디 슈 첨보 겹투에 이치 슈 첨보 여봐. 아니 대난에 배 인지 첨보 그 세엔 동네를 겹야 인지 첨보 슈 첨보 여나 딱 잠루데 숙청부 열었어. 유디 싫어 숙청부면은 잠루데 숙청부 용부 말았어. 내가 잠루 숙제다 맞지 그다나 마다 간가 아니 교수님들 따버렸어. 교수님이하고 창도나 아니 잠루 그하고 얘기를 해서
As for the mind going for refuge, whether the mind has actually gone for refuge and the quality of that refuge may be examined through an examination of the presence or absence of the 3 causes. The intensity of these causes, the more intense, the greater the sincerity of the refuge, is where we ought to look to understand how to characterize our own refuge. If these 3 causes, if that fear in the first case is very intense, felt very deeply, and the faith that we have in the 3 jewels, in their ability to protect us from that fear, and furthermore, the compassion for the sake of sentient beings, that they be liberated from their fears, if these causes are present and intense and fervid, then the quality of the refuge itself is fervid and sincere. So we look to these 3 causes to evaluate our own refuge.
어떻습니까? 가르치고 그랬습니다. 먼저 보겠다. 계산 교육이랑 미기 참또 강기 참나 아니 교육에다 쇼디가는 그 셋업이야. 교육 고고 뒤들어 쇼딩하지 쇼딩하는 라마 되겠지. 이게 제수 다 뒤워 저기 당부 타고 되나 아니 산제다지 이단 산제 되겠지. 뒤워들라 아니 기능이 천재기다 자주생 받아 아니 바오 칸도 쇼토마토 바한지 꼬샤 여러와 오야 딱 꼬샤베 꼬샤바제 딱 되게 마치로 타고도 많고 쇼득이 많고 딱 저렇게 저거 와를 거나 되게 탈로 거나 되게 어딜라 다 심제 탐제 랑기 타고도 또 타고로 전에 아니 랑기 바다 마다 얘도 전에 아니 심제들도 타고도 아
As one goes for refuge in the visualization, I've described the visualization of a colossal throne, atop which there are 5 more thrones, centermost throne, flanked by others, and then on the borders, and you may visualize this either in vertically or horizontally, but on the border are the Buddhas. They are the Buddhas of the class of tutelary deities, of the Tantras, and then these are further surrounded by the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, the Dakas and the Dakinis, and the protectors and the rest. And then beyond this, whether you imagine it vertically or horizontally on the border of this, visualize too the presence of one's mother, father, and all sentient beings.
오야 다티 심제디게 강가 아니 다 모디 아니 심제라랑 도와다 도와리 툴 삼다 아니 도와라 또 심제라랑게 모를 여바체 대한 수도 도와리 툴 동에 수수 냥다 냥심바 모 된듯이 임발라 넘버디 아니 베다 삼마심바 마마투가 되는 구바되는 삼마당체 맛이 된 거와 엔지지가 삼으로 땅네 안에서 랑게 타고를 예 삼 심제 탐제 교육이 탈 예 삼네 엔지지 밑과 치고를 해서
Sentient beings visualized on the border are of the nature of the 6 classes of beings, and each migrating being experiences its own respective suffering, and that suffering is ongoing. This is the quality, the essence of sentient beings visualized bordering us. And however, though this is their essence, their aspect should be the human aspect of those capable of speaking and comprehension. They aren't unaware, rather they are aware and able to speak and comprehend, and such is the visualization of sentient beings surrounding us. This is the visualization then, and then one embarks in beginning the refuge. And if one will recite the verses of refuge, and intoning the verses of refuge is you yourself, there is no other, none other leading the recitation, then you intone the verses of refuge. And ordinarily we recite, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. This is the general refuge verse. And then each ritual liturgy too has its unique, in many cases, unique verses of refuge. In this context, as we study the Lamrim, the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment, the tradition is to go for refuge to the Guru, the glorious Guru, then to the Buddha, then to the Dharma, then to the Sangha. We recite Namo Guru Bhe, etc. So these four, the Guru, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, are the refuge in the verses that we recite in the context of the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment.
아니 이제 강한 냠도 된 거랬어. 산지를 째죠. 철을 째죠. 기들이 산지를 째 라마 째죠. 산지를 째 철을 기들이 째서 곧 식시 냠도 된 것도 왔어. 다 수수 미과체는 남을 샤곰체는 곰디 아니 시가 되었도 없나? 미과체 테스트 하고 열었어. 제가 네 시간염도 맞으면서 당목 염도 당목의 라마를 적으러 와. 그래서 라마를 째서 쳤어. 코랑 가져 사기나 장가 야도 이제 동자 사기나 가져 사기나 대가란 찍고 사 아니 미과때나 아니 미과체 때 오열해서.
Now when we go for refuge, generally and in common, then the practice is to go through the Guru, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, 1, 2, 3, 4, just like this. However, this can make difficult the visualization, and if one is alone and going for refuge, one may choose to attend to each individually, meaning one begins first with going to refuge to the Guru, and if one is going to refuge to the Guru, one may do it 100 times or 1,000 times, focusing on the Guru, and accumulate these refuges to the Guru, beginning with the Guru first.
다 미과시 권하시는 알레 정고지 야탐바 장주시 다 진이 야탐바 장주삼바 미과디 가르스나 다 라마디 가르 라마다 가상도 라마 세다디 라마데라 라마 동안 댕나스 타임바스 동안 댕나 Oh, it's a lot one thing at the downtown, the one thing at the setup. That's me what thing is in this temple yoba. Thing is, that's the thing is Chamba temple yoba. I think it's a top devil yoba to the Gong to the Yamu Yena and Lama Denga for a setup. Lama Denga the setup done. Denga the set the cousin of the Cobanation. Yab the yen, the Dunji, and it's all said to school and Tinalama, Lama Denga cook. Ani lama denga tele ani migwa chitu tamba ani ta manzo tanda manzo lamrim di yolam shi suji ni shege yoba yindu ani yolam di zo nga ta zo nga tumu nyaga toni ani nyamne chitan shege yoris yindu tamba ta nga ta tebe choba shidu ani duzu bebjang singende ani shida kechimbo sungures 제가 뉴지 배장 양도 장화다 냠도 뉴지 배장을 찍고 열해서
Now let's take an example of going through one full mala's refuge. We take the mala, and the mala has 100 beads or so. The number that one can count with their mala is 100. So let's take that, and you have the mala, and you will be visualizing the refuge just as we have described it. And we're attending to the Lama here, we're attending to the Guru, and the visualization, the arrangement, the picture that I described has five groups of the Gurus, 5 groups. And so if you have samadhi with some stability of mind and some experience in this, then you may picture the entirety of the arrangement of the 5 groups of the Gurus, and that includes the Guru in the front and the back, and those to the side, and that in the center, making 5. Now, from these 5, as we are taking as our reference point the Mantrayana and the presentation of the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment through the swift path, which is a drawing together of both the sutra and the mantra, as this process of going for refuge is in the tradition of the Mantrayana, we will incorporate the very significant practice of purification through the descent of nectar. So as we recite the verses of refuge, we also engage in the purification through the descent of nectars.
Yeah, and so Lama to Chigomna Chogiores. Lama to Lama to Chigom Suzuki, but the Lama to the big Uveg Lama Suzuki Lama Manguyan Samatana degree, and so to Chig Samatana degree. Young deal me what some me what channel, Giuseppe Chenaya, and still your response.
If one's talent for visualization and one's samadhi is not sufficient to visualize the full arrangement, it is sufficient to picture one guru. This is enough. And in the tradition of the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment, to picture one guru is acknowledged as sufficient. One may focus upon this one guru.
Lama rangi kyabri yo lama yubati nyamlen chilabi yubas susu nyamlen chilabi yubas chese ta yela yunyindi ani gyachin chuju changju sembi ta chilab na yubas so chingenche yela yedi ani samutta yusda do samutta yusda tongbanigi ani nyamlen chiage chilabi yubas so yubache 제가 다 뒤를 요 라마디 당기 람리기 다 최슈자기 라마기 이제 뒤를야 그 천정원도 되게 라마가들 이 뒤를 고 유지 람리 규베 라마체 천정원도 라마라 그래 람리 규베 라마라 집어체 다 기기 치더라 중에디 안에 수족이다 다 도와도제 상을 모이요 다 라마가 조대 오 되지 라마가 세다 아니 라마가 델레 유지에세 마 Duzi said, Nenga. Duzi the sister, Neo, Duzi the say, Neo, in an other Java, you do Duzi the Sancho. Duzi, Mapon, Nema, Duzi Mapone, and the Lambi Lama. Public Mivacho lessons.
The 5 sets of gurus, 5 groups of gurus are arranged in the front, in the back, and to the sides. And then in the back is the Guru of Vajradhara, surrounded by the lineage gurus of the tradition of consecrated practice. And to the right of the centermost throne are the gurus in the lineage of extensive practice, those gurus that confer the blessing of bodhicitta itself. And to the left are the gurus in the tradition of profound practice, the profound practice of emptiness. And in the front is the guru in their aspect that we know them and directly encounter them, the individual in the aspect actually teaching the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment. And in the middle is the guru with the essence of Vajradhara. This is the visualization, and these 5 sets of gurus are the source for nectar and light which descend from them. Both nectar and light of 5 different colors. In the secret Mantrayana, the emphasis is upon the descent of nectar. And so one visualizes nectar descending into one's mind.
Oh, yeah. He kept the key, Lama did a beauty Lama Nibudilla. What had the mother the inner young number Tatan Kai was key, Yawato Chang. But number so Tamil number Maimba, but Chever to puppet number that you said. That rang do you joke, children want to do, Rangla. To do number Tamil number Chendo Tembeki, the number of temples, or the cousin shoes I all DJ. That in number Lame pushing Mark, Silver, Marana, Padutamba, and then using Bejam, that number Chores, that is it, Marama Pub, Chikunjo, Chilab, Rama Pub, and Karichores, to see the Rangi Lula Mashu, and Lutam Jakani, and then Rangi, that Page Lama la Tembek, that Tibata, Tibatam Tabe, Mibachores, that the Janga Mibachur, that someone did Bejani or Beba, the Jawan Nero. No, Tamuma Dizima Pavace. Then Jama de la Tibachama, that Tamu Dizipam, and it Lama then Tibatawa, Carrios, not Suzuki, Maranzo, that's a coma Tuma Mebane, the Sarah Mambula Mazuta, Tiba Mamusa, that I will Luigi on the Sabbath, Tiba, you and Maju on the Sabbath, Tiba, Luigi on the Sabbath, Tiba, Aranzo, Tangajama to Tiba Mambo to get some Tikan, Igima Tabi Miba Chiche. That said, Dilla Chavina, the Lamegi, Kula Doas, Lamekula Doas, Lama Magic Ragi, like Shuba, the Chava Teodovas, and the Lame Sung Java. And the Lame Tukuba, Lama, Mate Yemesho, oh, the Dick, the words of Ma Duzi Chu, Ma Tebe, the Bachawa, as long as you know.
As I described last week, the guru on the centermost throne and the guru in the frontmost throne have the same essence, yet their aspect appears differently. The guru on the centermost throne shows the extraordinary aspect of Vajradhara, whereas the guru in the frontmost throne shows the ordinary aspect of the guru teaching to us as we know them to teach to us in that form. So they take these 2 aspects, as I described last week. Now, nectar descends from the gurus, and so we visualize the descent, the flow of nectar downward. So this is the first part, to visualize the descent of the nectar. The nectar flows downward from the gurus and fills the body. The first step is the descent of the nectar. Then the nectar purifies the body, purifies us of the mental afflictions and negativities. So first the nectar descends, then it purifies the body, purifies the mind, filling the body. And how is it that it purifies the mind? In many countless lives, we have engaged in negativities of body, speech, and mind, and these are purified. These negativities of body, speech, and mind are innumerable, uncountable. These are purified. In this life itself, the negativities that are purified are the particular negativities directed toward the guru, such as endangering the guru's body, disobeying their orders, disturbing their mental peace, disparaging them, and not having faith in them. Principally, the nectar purifies negativities and obscurations. However, also anxieties too may be visualized as pacified through the descent of nectar.
Oh yeah, that the way chugma that Khapa should be what you do something around that better than the soon your Lama to you, President Thomas, that the Lama to soon you look at yourself. Although Chawa Chimbo and the Chulo Chimbo, the only the one without said to the Goma Teruda. Then I think you see Chuba Shuchimbo Pan and the Rang Luigi. And the Bada Tibatan about Chubi 10, but Samasan Chawa, the Pekandati Manzuki Shewu to the Chulu and I said, but Chuma to that, but I'm a tired to Atina, he paid out in the Rang same day. Nangi that Tibata, Tibata, you see Chubi 10, and bet Samasan by Shewu Yata and I should Sama, the Samatan, me was here, the Sungu.
In the visualization of purifying nectar, the descent of purifying nectar, this is what I've heard from teachers. This isn't something I've read. This particular example I'll give you, but for the purpose of visualization, I've heard of this visualization that one imagines the obscurations and the negativities as that which clouds a glass, and just as water flowing across the glass will wipe away, will clear away that which clouds the glass. In the similar way, the descent of nectar clears away the obscurations and the negativities, just as water will wash away from translucent glass that which clouds it.
Oh, that me what me what baby me what teacher. That Jam me what the Lama Chilabdi Mashu Tane, and that me what Karichurasana, and Lama Kusun to Gish. Forget Duzi was a Mamu Papa delay, and that Duzi, that and the Duzi Beb Chang Yinane, Duzi baby me what she do, Katoka, Duzi the Katoka, which in Masubulma Bebasena, and in the Bebasin Bebasia Sungu or Sedan you do. Rangi Tibata, Tibata Tabe me what you do, Duzi Pavia, Duzi the cowl me what he is. And then Lameg Duzi Pavneta, Rangi Lameg Kusun to Chilapta. And then you then Tamja round of Tobechidula, me what Chigina, Duzi the Sabos, me what Duzi Pavia the Sabo me what and Lameg Kusun to you then. And then that's so that's Paget serving water name about. Sonam Saya, the leg is some tangina, and Duzukanga, Pavakana, Duzikana, Sebo Pavi, watching the song or resonance.
The nectar descends, and after the descent of the nectar, the purification begins. And also, after the nectar has descended, when it has filled the body, then the qualities of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind are produced in one. But first, for the descent of the nectar, when the descent leads then to the purification of the mind, the color of the nectar is described involved in this process. The color of the nectar is white. For the visualization of purification of negativities, the descending nectar is pictured as white. But then as the visualization moves to the development of the good qualities, the receiving of the blessings of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind, and the development of merit, the prevention of sickness, the increase in one's lifespan, these qualities are visualized as conferred through the descent of a yellow nectar. In the descent of the purifying nectar, teachers have described it as constructive to picture something like water itself, as though water washes away impurities, just as water washes away dirt. The water washes that dirt away, and the dirt colors the water. In a similar way, during the purification, one can picture one's negativities and obscurations as darker and blacker and being washed away. And this is the purification of the obscurations. Okay, so for now, I think that this presentation of the descent of purifying nectars descending from the gurus is adequate for now, and we'll go into this in greater detail during the section on petitioning the merit field.
Oh yeah, that in a deal the career, you could go to Lama, water, that Sanje go your Sanje. That Sanje de la, any careers, and that Tandanazo Malu that Shigi you do, and Sanje de la, Yidam Beauty Shigi. And then Sanje Shiche, they got Dulu Chok, two good numbers in it, that Sanje Nga, the design of the Nga response.
Now we turn our attention to the Buddhas. And the Buddhas, as this is a visualization in the context of the Mantrayana, the Buddhas are the tutelary deities of the 4 Tantra classes. According to the sutras, the Buddhas are the very Buddhas that we picture in the collection of the 5 gurus.
Oh, yeah, that Sanjay Ngai is this setup. And that Pilatina, Hadanashi, and the Tibetans, Chibu Yoris. That and the Lama Chebanashi, and that Kandal that Chilo, the Parim, that Lama should do with Tabo, Parim Tambodella, and Dulukita, Lame, Tambo Lame, Sanjay, Tinet, Lame, Tinet, Nejo, Tinet, Juju, Tinet, Chagu, and Tinet Sanjay, the Koi Wakasan also. Sanjay Tella, Sanjay Tong. Sanjay Tonda Tong Sanjay Che. And it the order Mela de Shake, and the order Sanjay Sumju Songa, or Tiki to most around the Koya, that Italian to Sanjay, that's Mago Yorsela, the Zugato, Sanjay Koya, oh, that dilemma to the public me watch Helen, and in other Italian, me watch over else.
From the Buddhas flow descending nectars, just as the nectars flowed from the guru. And in the order, the arrangement described, the first file of Buddhas are the Buddhas of the tutelary deities of the Anuttara Yoga class. And these are followed by the tutelary deities of the Yogini class of Tantra. And these are followed by the Charya and the Kriya class of Tantra's tutelary deities in this way. And beyond these, are the Buddhas of the Sutrayana, the Buddhas 1002 in number, followed by 8 of the medicine Buddhas and 35 of the confession Sutra Buddhas. And there are many Buddhas in this file too, and all are arranged and pictured.
Oh yeah, that didn't do the benefit. The time we got Chiadella, Dulugutola Divata, so Sanjay, Dulugutola Sanjay to Dano to Tamzi, Yamja Shawache. And it Sanjay, Chile Chawache, Tamzi Yamja Shawa, Sanina, Zadun, and then Pambo, and it's Sapek, Dano to that not but the gave that near to Yabat and your road into some town or reche. That in a Nibadilla, that Duluk is Sanjay Latene, I want to do what Sasha careers na, the what I have me what Chigoya careers na, and it that okay, teaching ship a cool and some touching boss. Oh, that the chick that the Tangajata Chel. And it's Sanji Kula, Sanji Kula Yachi. Yawata duata the leg and Namdo on the next Sanji Kula Yanyan Tower. Unless Sanji Ku Hanzo with Suzuki Chidegi Chashaka Chitula, Sanji Ku Tamar Joba, and then Sanji Kula Tsong Jala Dushi Cheba, and then Kusun to Kushiba, all the dos, and then Chok Tugula Tebia to Kibasa, Saya, you take it or to get Tabache or the Esmos. So to the Marco President, one person of your
and then the descent of nectars from these Buddhas begins. Now, in the purification that follows, the purification is of negativities of two sorts, or described in two various ways. The first, in accordance with the secret Mantrayana, negativities are understood especially as breaking samaya vows, breaking the word of one's guru, the root transgressions, the heavy transgressions. These are the negativities that are purified through the descent of nectar according to the Mantrayana. According to the Sutrayana, non-virtues, negativities especially purified at this moment are the negativity of drawing blood from a Tathagata with malicious intent, the negativity of finding fault or evaluating the quality of representations of the Buddha as identifying representations as high quality or low quality, the negativity of pawning or selling representations of the Buddha, and the negativity of destroying representations of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. Now, these are the negativities that occur directed towards supreme Nirmanakaya form.
Oh yeah, that Sanji Kulang is a charge in Basing. That Sanji Tisha almost didn't and the sugar cup my do, called Mazuli Yoy in that. Shendala Yon Yorwas and these their Tangsha Yorata. And it in a cooler lane, Tajichavas, cooler lane, Tajichavas heading on the Mango Yoga of the footage. And Jala, you just said the Muller so what the day and Zachimbuchera, and the Sada Dollar in the Zamacho to the Jala to Shishabaina, and in Yabachibushira Yores, or cousin Mama, the day Yores.
And drawing blood from a Tathagata with malicious intent is a negativity applicable to those present with the Tathagata. We are not presently. However, the rest of the other negativities apply to us, such as the second of finding fault in representations of the Buddha. And this habit we do have of valuing representations made of gold and silver as greater than representations of the Buddha made from clay or stone. Hello.
Oh yeah. Pena peja corona panesel goma joji pelo shusha ani nenjoba nyamlemba chigi ani puyune chabe ku ani 지 뉴해지 키워야 아니 저올라 제비슈 저올라 때는 아니 잠배야 꾸디 아니 간데 야고도 왜 스케줄티브레스 안에도 야고 아니 저기 뒤 랜드를 가르쳐 말잖아 잠배야 꿀라 야고도 두니요 말레스 꿀라 야고도 두니요 말 이나디 소녀기 소바디 치라 야고 메도스 어데데진 송와도 규요레스 제가 데인디 거기 간다는 꿀라 자 직사 채워다 마채워 야가도 누가기 다니게 요 말했어. 나랑도 되다 좀 제게 가르치는 채워서는 꿀라 잘라 뒤시 요바이자 디왕게 안 꿀라 자 채워다 마채워다 같이 다고 자야 같이 다고 마자 어디 요 뒤시 지게 요바이자 디왕게 요거래 손으로지.
There's an account of a yogi approaching Atisha with a manjushri procured from Nepal, and he showed Atisha the manjushri statue and asked, "How excellent is this manjushri?" And Atisha responded, "There's nothing but excellence in manjushri. However, you may find in the artist that their artistry is not the greatest." And so it is that there's no fair way to evaluate the excellence of the Buddha, the form of the Buddha itself. When we do so by making the mistake of seeing this representation as a mere ordinary object. And as a mere ordinary object, it has value only insofar as the material from which it is made.
Oh, this is that in a good tamar job. Your song Chavati, Tamazo, big toy, but I'm joking with the watch and the good Tama job. That's Suzuki Paget, Misiki turned out, and then the Rangi Tam. 담다 거기다 되게 시도를 꾸듯 담아샤바다 아니 찍고 요와다 총을 쏘가지고 아니 예바 첨부 요레스 단디조 아니 지민이 말레스
Loaning, pawning, selling representations of the Buddha, these are things that we hear of and see. To loan, or rather to pawn a Buddha is to mix it with ordinary concerns for reputation and getting what one's needs in terms of clothing and food, to debase it in these ways. And debasing it in such a way is a grave misdeed.
Oh yeah, that's Sanjay Kula Tenita. Duty Palme and Jangoyagi, Nebazo, Alumos Mabati, and the Maimba Suzuki. The Mango Yoresan, Zubra Tabe Mibache, Taina, we were on the Lama, we were Chawanashi, Duty Palme, and the Rangi, Zuma, using Chuba, Pen, and the Rangi, same with our Tibata, Neva Karian, and Zipura Pasama Tan, and the same Korangi Mo. She would Tamana, she Yoba Nashi, but send the Tamazanya, Charles of Sunday, maybe what you was.
So these are the sorts of negativities that are purified through the descent of nectar. These negativities are myriad. And just as we visualize the descent of nectar descending from the Guru, here the nectar descends from the Buddhas and purifies every last negativity. And one may picture negativities washed away as water washes away stains and blemishes and cloudiness from a mirror or from a glass, leaving the glass or the mirror spotless. And so this is the visualization. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, excuse me for 1 minute. Oh,
easy pause. Nossa, cheiro.
And then begins the purification from the descent of the nectar. These nectars flow. Then with the descent of the nectar, the purification follows. The purification and the development of the qualities of the Buddhas themselves. These qualities are the very qualities that one will develop with one's own achievement of Buddhahood. They are the qualities that carry out the well-being, bring about the welfare of sentient beings, and they are the 10 powers of the Buddha, the 4 fearlessnesses, the 18 unique qualities of the Tathagata. These qualities one visualizes, one imagines, oneself has achieved.
Oh yeah, you did it like yeah, but you switching got to like Tangat with Deburis, and then you did it around Kunjogi, Simjaki, turn to worship, you did it, and around Tobia, you got around Rason, some Gawata. And then we got the Shuchimbachi.
Also, among these qualities are the major and minor marks of a Buddha. And in the presentation of petitioning the merit field, we'll describe these in great detail. Essentially, these qualities that one achieves are the qualities that carry out the well-being of sentient beings. And one imagines oneself receiving these qualities, having these qualities, and having these qualities, one rejoices and celebrates in them.
Oh, that is Lama, that is Sanya, that children me.
And then nectars descend from the Dharma too, as one is going for refuge to the Dharma as well.
Yeah, that's me what that answer started. What in the country or so. That's done chill. Kunjongodi, want to do it up what is it? Chu Kunjongodi, and then Sanji, Yuji. 아니 고람 이래 얘네 돈이 무슨 도배 강사가 규기 아니 딱 도배 쳐다 룸이 쳐 여러와 딘도 딱 쳐고 좀 뭐에 들어와서 얘네 쳐고 좀 뭐를 때는 가지고 딱 이거 말아도 이거 믹스에 딱 이게 수술 저와시라면은 믹스에 이거 사게 요 말에 지난에 쳐고 좀 뭐를 때는 어떤 이거 시라 더 통해 시라 믹스에 먹고 요 말에 손으로
As one goes for refuge to the Dharma, the visualization too of nectar descending from the Dharma, we will describe the descent of nectar purifies negativities, but ordinarily and repeatedly, I have emphasized that the Dharma, the essence of the Dharma, is the Dharma on the continua of the Arya, especially cessation itself and the path itself. It is the realization on the continuum of an Arya with direct insight into emptiness. And so this realization is the Dharma of realization. And this is the essence of the scriptural Dharma. And so negativities for which one is responsible on the basis of a disservice to this Dharma is unlikely, as we aren't ordinarily in contact with the Dharma in this respect.
Oh yeah, that is not on the show. That on the around the Peugeot Tayag, that show Kunjo Chundu Chag, and it chewy that long doba. So Songa, Levam the Dola Tene, Manzuga, and that the Guamango Sagre. That did none. That Benamazu, the Bachi Carriers not Tambeche Pongwas, the chair. 담배실 빵 봤지. 아니 송럽 아니 라기다 제 송럽이야. 다시 산지 끝나신 이파게 총그 뒤시도 제봐. 잘라 송소 뒤제 제봐. 아니 송럽라 먹어 제봐. 아니 송럽라 아니 루스 봐도 다 거기 잘라 뒤제 제봐 제 송소 뒤제 제봐 이 가가 장도 어 되게 때는 아주 아니 송럽 때 기버 싸봐요. 어디서 답을 누가 치고 그래 송럽.
Khapa mandani khari the Tsong dan sinda.
Oh, jigdi jala ju jala dushi sha ba che jigdi Tsong so dushi sha. Tsong
The Dharma that we are in contact with is the Dharma of scripture, the actual collections of the word of the Buddha, and with these as object, we are responsible for negativities. One such negativity is the negativity of abandoning the Dharma. Another is of having the idea of the Dharma as being no different from an ordinary object, such that we sell it or pawn it, disrespecting it in ordinary ways. Or merely having the idea of it being a mere thing. So here we actually have the view that it is an item for sale, and the view that it is a mere thing as two different forms of an idea that is negative relative to the Dharma.
Oh, to the Tadine Tambo Chobong lesson that Stamado Mango Younger, Chobong lesson that Suzuki Chilla Magavi using the chain chip, Pamba, the day Younger. Any young Kaji Tibo Chimbo Church gives a Timmy Chilla bed, Timmy Church his back, Pine at the Younger. Kashi Tibo Member Church by K Legend and teaching each upon the Younger, or that is really the Chobong lesson.
The negativity of abandoning the Dharma is a sort of activity one engages in when they dislike some aspect of the Dharma. This will happen in some cases when one prefers the Mahayana to the foundation vehicle, or in other cases where one prefers the foundation vehicle to the Mahayana and disregards one or the other.
배낭아주 출룩 수수도 출룩 딜레전스 출룩 랑기 출룩도 줄에 생기 출룩 줄 말을 나나요? 주몽을 빼니까 차버렸어. 아니 지금 건조 지교도 지어래 건조 지교도 지어 말했을 때 이게 이제 제가 있나요? 주몽을 드라이니까 차버시라 요랬어. 제가 니주 강가로 주몽을 가정가 지단다 강을 대신 로사래. 가정 표준이 시럽 시럽 가정 어디지 약사래. 제가 다 주몽을 내서 직제. 아니 송도 잡아서도 아니 최디 야가래 뒤 누가래. 아니 최를 직 거기서 얘기 여치 줘 말했어 직제. 아니 송로로 막 그바서도 마다 산지가 송랍된 줄 아니 랑기 딱 그바치고 소남 싸우러 마구버치는 아니 소남 냠도로 제가 마구버치 받는 거지. 아니 송랍 저 송소 제가 이나야 내가 친구이도 누구 망고 요래 송랍.
Abandoning the Dharma also occurs when one is partial in a sectarian sense and prefers one tradition of the Buddha Dharma to another and claims that one's own tradition is the Dharma, whereas the others are not. This is our Dharma, and that is not the Dharma. This is a prejudice that falls under abandoning the Dharma, and I described this already in the context of developing the wisdom arising from listening. Now, the negativity of having the idea of the Dharma as an item for sale and then looking at its value accordingly is a grave misdeed. Disrespecting the Dharma, which negatively influences, or rather which causes a decline in one's merit, is also a negativity. In actuality, one must respect and venerate the Dharma, and when one does so, one's merit increases. And then when one, strictly speaking, sees the Dharma as nothing but an item for sale, this is a very grave misdeed.
안다르데 송랍라다 바게 콤보 송랍드조베 송랍드 가나 잘라신 샤바타고다 송랍로 고뮤체바 아주 곰바타고다 아니 송랍 나라 지금 다음에 천연도 좀 다화도 주샤바이나 아니 이 송랍로 마구바 체바게 네바나 지어레 송랍시.
Actions that are forms of disrespect toward the Dharma are to stack things on the Dharma. On the scriptures, stack other items, other objects on top of the scriptures, to step over them, to step over the scriptures, to paint and mar and color on the scriptures. These are activities that are forms of disrespect to the Dharma.
나바지 다 조절 지단 거 마가로 제 안취 많이 맞지 있는 취 송전당살로 용 아니 마구바지 아니 취도 많이 맞지 대대월다 대대도 많이 그런 나바디 가르쳐 버스나 아주 속에 타버드 트윈 아니 배절도 주샤인 거와 배절 주어는 배절 주도 아니 조지기 통 쓰이버다 쓰도 좀 조지기 아니 다 깨셔는 아니 가르쳐 줘도 아차마 송아 아차마 배제 소 잡고 배제를 두두던 거 아니 배 저지 하나마서 수수 불러 배 좋아지 나서다운 나지 아차마 스케시 연전 디 롱구마를 송아레스 제단은 거 데레 저 대바에 버시네 아니 그런 게 저지를 돼 최니 아니 샤바체가 데레 루기요레스 제단 셔로 송러로야 90지단데 어디 아니 수수고 냠냄새 가서 토부에나 디지그 송럽도 짜친고 동거래 제단 저저 권한들이나 또 잡아지 않는 배들을 주고가 권한도 그 수수 부불라 나도 당원래 이 년가 차지를 해서.
There's an account of the illustrious Atisha in Ngari when he was residing in Ngari, and there was a yogi there, and the yogi didn't care particularly to listen to the teachings of Atisha. He would be nearby, but wouldn't pay attention and wouldn't take great care to learn from Atisha. And on one occasion, he was there and about with Atisha, and he was nearby and cleaned his teeth, was cleaning the plaque from his teeth, and he would clean the plaque from his teeth and then smear the plaque on the scripture in his hand. And Atisha saw this and involuntarily cried out, Atama, which is, oh my gosh, the pain, feeling great pain to see this done to the scripture. And when the yogi saw the pain that Atisha felt when he put plaque on the scriptures, it was cause for him to develop faith in Atisha, and he developed faith in Atisha and began to listen to the teachings of Atisha and confessed to Atisha. And so this illustrates that the greater one's realization, the greater one's appreciation and veneration for the scripture itself.
아니 배전에서 모두 시에서 대대식 내줘 친구지 알았어. 제가 코랑 아니 니마직 미산직 많이 냠구 치지 아니 미산이 나라 봄이 세 되게 봄이 서와 봄 제가 길에도 수요 어디도 수요 어디도 배자지 코랑 쫑네 아니 네 쫑왜 루이디게 아니 코랑 배자 쫑왜 빅샤가 치도라 아니 냥도 제가 친구지 안티년도 더순 안 나라 issue 아니 샤벤체 아니 샤벤지도 본도 몸배사 종교 공무이되는 본도를 샤라필 아니 무이도 디 코랑게 샤라디 시 아니 무이들 남발 때네 아니 코랑 제르스 시 마시바차 호선 제르스 시 마시바차 마시바 가는 코랑을 전다 전에 일남나 아니 수분나라베 아들 치보가버지 아니 수분나라 야야 또 마마도 일슬람시 아니 산이 람도 또 코랑 베 시우지 나르다 그보다 나자 시오이 땅 대대시도 좀 아니 거랑이 아니 디체벌데 거랑이 냠냠 같이 뭐 이게 땡이되어 오면 딱 가림 노리체나 따도 잡아 아니 거랑이 줄라 아까부터 야마 교벌데 나자 땅 대대스 삼로 거란지 거랑이 제레스 셰마즈다니 셈데체나 제레스 뭐 샤고 되네 망고시도 아니 제레스 거랑 셰시 계란이 계산 되게 제가 내가 계란이 송럽 송되게 아니 송이 우이되게 계란을 렘발에 때는 아니 계란을 되게 내 나사 중앙다 제레스 셰마투어도 계산 계란 되게 되게 제송세 안 되게 롱때 말해서
To have the idea of the scriptures as mere items for sale is cause for serious misdeeds, serious negativities. And there's a story, a particular account of just how of the gravity of this idea that I'll tell you. It's a story of King Khapa, who was a highly realized adept in the Kagyupa tradition, who practiced Mahakala, and who to whom Avalokiteshvara revealed himself directly. And so one day there was a patron family who had fallen on hard times, and to raise some money had sold the greater length Prajnaparamita Sutra to raise money. And recognizing that this was a misdeed, this was a negative action, the family, to atone for this, the family invited King Khapa Chimbo and 3 other monks to a meal at their home and served them food purchased with the money that they had made through the sale of the Prajnaparamita Sutra. And King Khapa Chimbo dined with them, and then after the meal, all of a sudden Avalokiteshvara was no longer visible to him, and in his body there was this syllable ah moving about, white syllable ah, and it moved about all night long in his sleep. And when he woke in the morning, he was very ill, and he had achieved a high level of samadhi, which allowed him to carefully analyze himself to find where he had made a mistake that had caused this illness of his, and now prevented him from an encounter with Avalokiteshvara. So he practiced, he atoned for the misdeed, not knowing yet what it was. And then Avalokiteshvara appeared again to him and revealed that he was responsible for the selling of the Prajnaparamita Sutra, and that this was the cause of his illness, and that this was the reason for a time he had been unable to visualize Avalokiteshvara.
Tes no ri chuna yang kadu la leg debu karisa na la kadu mingi yores ta ma zo leg debu tab chibu yu de la ani leg debu lamsa mami ba che ani be jema leg debu de chibu ten shen ba ka de nyang go de le na ani be chibu nyang go yu go che da de le yu ta da pa ge di King
Khapa Chimbo supplicated, entreated Avalokiteshvara again, made his confessions to atone for the negativity, and then recovered physically and recovered the privilege of direct encounter with Avalokiteshvara. This exemplifies the way in which adepts, masters in their meditation, experience causality, karmic causality, its ripening quickly, such that they can identify a cause and its effect. For those of us who are mired in obscuration and negativities, a negativity will not necessarily ripen immediately, only ripen gradually, meeting its cause and condition later, and that condition bringing about a ripening of an extremely significant experience, negative experience. And so negative actions through misplaced ideas regarding the Dharma cause events of the kind that I've described here. So I think we'll conclude here for today. That leaves us with part of this section on the descent and purification of nectars from the Dharma, visualizing the Dharma itself as a source of the descent of the purifying nectar for next week. Now in the time remaining, we can engage in the Q&A so that you can resolve any doubts you have or clarify anything that is unclear. I think that's always very useful.
When we talk about the nectar, purifies obscuration, is that contradicted when we talk about the Buddha cannot use water to purify your obstacle and cannot remove your obstacle by the hand? Is that contradicted?
아니 첫 번째 남기 추위 맞추시? 다들 세리디 아니 세리디당 아니 뜻이 아니 밥장기 아니 나샤티 당 겨다 차기 매드로 No contradiction.
The Karasana Manzuki, the what the Rangi Yamle Machina Sanji Palen, Yomar, Sanji, Ekutabi Yomaris, Sanji, Sumbala, Rangi Yamle, Cheva, and Kanga Yumayores. At the tuna, the what you the Susukali Jam was Sanji, Ches Yomaris. Kalis to Yawas, Therapy, Tanda, Chicky, Jabjur, Yawach.
No, there's no contradiction here because the non-virtue, the negativity that is purified through the descent and purification of the nectars is a purification that takes place through one's practice, through one's deliberate practice. There's no scenario in which one engages in no activity whatsoever and the Buddha eliminates all one's negativities. Instead, when one, based upon the teachings of the Buddha, engages deliberately in practice, then anything is possible. And this is what we're describing. There's nothing that occurs without any personal effort at all.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Can you tell me again? You said 3 causes of seeking refuge in the beginning.
These 3 causes are fear and terror at the prospect of samsaric suffering, confident faith in the 3 jewels' ability to protect one from that suffering, and great compassion. We speak of great compassion, don't we?
Oh, yeah, they treated me for what I'm just the
question is about the first one, because in my experience, if I dwell on that fear of the truth of cyclic existence in the Dharma, then I get afraid, and it makes me not want to practice it. Because in my experience, even here at Kyoto, I have not found, I've had the spiritual mentors that have expressed interest in studying with or having connection with, they are reluctant to do that. So I am left afraid and unable to, improve upon the path when I don't engage a teacher, and I just am afraid of the truth of it.
Oh, I did it. Also, the ngaragi nyamyong kipone sibayina da ngani karisa korwe gi rangshin di donga yemba di ke gangla ni samno tangne di jiktak di kedan kegedu ra ani tene ngani ngamra tende kene nyamra tende kewa kingi ngani nyamlen che pögimendu nyamlen chegi nubadani dubadi ani la drogedu kayan ser na ngani gyuto choso dewala yani lerne ngani gegen denzola chö checking gegen denzola chiktra ke gobe gyumsen di konsultikarisa ni gegen la tene ni chiktra ke gobe gyumsen di hagone kyabne yandapa di gi nga la pento chiang che manyo da nga di ngarangi netandi ngarangi karisa ngarangi netsu de babsu de karela kure da ngarangi nyamnyongi ngarangi mitse de yarge drogemendu ngaya mutune tesla karela kure nga tunga chedan chesin bai yen ondenro
Adi jang susuki nyamnyung di Nyamnyung Pilatane, and it's Yamichiko and Moyores. Benamado, Negi Tonado, Seven, Chiran, the Wayna. That to Chizo, Nedan Tane, Chiran, Chizo, Nedaya, Dona, Yores. And it's Chiran is Suzuki, Kandar, Poges, Suzuki, Samlo Tansan, and Suzuki, she ran a check, some of the Penamazo Jablu, Utah, Sana. To me, the motion per chain, and a motion and a culture to me, motion and to me, the youth of Chibor was, and up a youth of Chibor, dear chair, Kaji, Kerala Yores. Any that Kunjola each much saying that Mazuk not to shake me either. Kunjola each and a capsan your Yapu yours again, love us in a social Susurang, Migi Soja, your mother Susurangi, some of time. And a Kunjola look in at this too. 아니 군조 근데 이제 제바이나 대바 제바이나 아니 소남 사게 소남 되게 와기 랑게 동해시 도그래 아니 대화들에 담음 라그를 와서 어디에 됐으니 말한 섬지도 되게 예스 아니 디케랑 내 레드 말은 세하고 민도스 어디서 말하기 결단데 하고서 말하기 결바티 네 라바티 맞아 Marcos,
so based upon your personal experience, judging by your experience, there remain for you many practices to engage in, and you do have, you in particular, in the sense of what's available to you socially, very good conditions for engaging in constructive practices. And this is how I think about it. We all identify suffering and its causes and recognize suffering, and then with the recognition of suffering, acknowledge that the natural thing to do is to try to elude it, to try to evade it. And one may do that, especially as I in a heartfelt way expressed to you, one may do it through the guiding force of faith. This is what I can say to you, but it isn't as though another can make this sort of connection, make this very faith. It's simply that I can, in my experience, share what seems to be the connection between entrusting oneself to the perfect refuge and then enjoying benefits of having done so. The merit that seems to follow from developing a faith. And when this occurs, it would seem that one's discontents and despairs are alleviated, and one achieves some contentment. This is sort of my perspective. And whether or not that addresses exactly your question remains to be seen, but that's my sentiment.
Yeah, that's
just about follow the last question. For the three elements about the take refuge is faith, despair, and great compassion. Is that right? So faith, despair is okay, but for great compassion, I think for the Hinayana person, he only wants to take refuge for himself liberation. So maybe great compassion is supposed to belong to the bodhicitta part, and take refuge and bodhicitta is supposed to be two categories, right? Okay. So the great compassion is not the cause of the Hinayana Asanga person's they take refuge.
So what's the question?
The question is, great compassion is not the reason to take refuge for Hinayana.
Okay.
도말
no,
그 친구가 이제부터 치고이나
no,
인지 상황이
no.
가정이 드시게 투모 많이 많이 나이 봐 투모한테 뒤버 투모하지 투모 많이 봐 그게 투모 많이 봐 어디래 투모 많이 봐 이제부터 쳐가는 인지 거래서 투모 이제부터 쳐가는 인지 거 말서 인지 시켰다로
Yes, for the Mahayana refuge, the further critical cause is compassion.
Right.
That makes for the uncommon refuge, the Mahayana refuge,
Right.
as I described. Necessary for refuge to be uncommon refuge is this great compassion.
Uncommon. Uncommon.
we can trauma with it yes
What if a person has never heard of the Dharma? How does that person become a Buddhist since under the refuge? And if it's based on past lives, what would be the significant aspects that would occur within that life in which the transformation consciousness occurs?
Rangi denzo ani chögi rat tam matwa per menayang ani sang yetsudi kandeshires de ani di rangi gi cheki logyushena susu mitse karisa ani karila kure kiwangachi kiwangama denzo la ni cheba jawa 내가 전부 가르쳐 연습을 라 가르칠 때는 랑게기 고방 톱기래 하고서 이 간세는 최대 아니 최기 자참 아니 못하네 상계버라 제자는
근데 말 다리 상계들 링만 보여래 직세 상보들 상계들 링만 보셔 하고서 이나네 스루다보다 예스기처럼 스루다보다 예스기데 거기다 오늘 너는 숨게 보라 하고서 상계매배 신감수 개와 규지 라면 류지고는 최대는 거 규지
알아 양식지
스루다보다 예스라 제가 상계들 링만 보여봐 스루다보다 코란게 rangi dajalo ko mato ko manum sunda gar
no
manum sunda kare sanji mebe singam de kewa gyurji esire osa ani badala game luji ko ne chete ne ba gyurji game luji namjur ko chete ne ba gyurji
no
oh ya tene ji kare ta sanji mebe singam de game luji ko chete ba gyurji ani tachi ko gyuma de ji bare gyuma ko rangi ko rangi ko terwa 제가 대대인도 안에 고랑이 다지만 선지기 되는지에서나 고랑 산지 신금도 맞춤되게 개와여와 대대를 안에 랑게서 개발된 아니 밀량 최 담을이고 남지 최대 대대 고랑 랑게기 최 배당과 최 냠리 지다지 대대 지어를 디스르다고 랑게생이죠 어디로 유래해서
알레 지산이 그래서 디 아니 다음에나 양디 루기 남겨 수기 루기 남겨
루기 남겨
수기
남겨 루기 남겨 뭐든도 이제 자리시도 이나시 남규도 최도 자 나제제 게만 자매를 도는 남규도 최대도야 어디 고랑 뭐는 게 뭐라고
아니 소소 아니 루기 남겨를 때네 아니 최템바 소소 토비기 소소 아니 그래서 아니 이게 뉴버 아니 토비 로 아니 때네 아니 뭐람 숨바디
오늘 숨바디 간다리 하고 참아서 어제 집어지 이삼데 이리도 하다 지금 가르치려 하고 참아서 제일 참선 쉬죠지
There are among Pratyeka Buddhas there are various kinds, and one is the rhinoceros-like Pratyeka Buddha. And this particular Pratyeka Buddha is said to engage in three unique aspirational prayers. The first prayer is to be born into a Buddha field where the Buddha is absent. The second is to have the power to teach the Dharma, not verbally, but through expressions of the body. And then there's a third prayer that I don't recall, the third that I don't recall at this moment, but when I remember it, allow me to share it with you then. So these are three aspirational prayers that the Pratyeka Buddha makes. That first being to be born into a Buddha field without a Buddha, and then to personally be able to teach the Buddha Dharma through physical expression rather than the verbal Dharma.
So is this coming from the past lives, and so they're exposed to the Buddha Dharma, and then why would they want to be born into a Buddha environment and not have the ability to teach the Buddha, teach the Dharma before, and instead just through the body?
아니 물론 가두다버래 아니 개와 남아라. 아니 랑상계기 개와 남아가면 된소가.
그러나 ranjegi 가지고 고방원도 마치고나.
그러봐.
고방원도 제가라면 우선 다시난 지금 고난도 너무 많고 열어. 가지고 고방원도 제가라면 고면은 숨됐다고. 일단은 아니 거기 이제 막네 고난 냠매지도 뒤치기로 와.
아니 가리 아니 저기 자디 아니 마숨네 누기 남겨를 때네 아니 저 때니기 누가 가르치네 아니 토비에게 아니 뭐나 아니 답기요래 근데 저 아니 칸에 셴네 아니 세 톱나 야가 말와 제상 김생가래
비조 그다음 선지기 감당는 봐 와서 그 배낭 아주 제체의 추냐면은 직체기도 와 나제 체는 그 가리어서 그 군대 섬로들이 그주 군대 집 왔다 간다 코랑이 배 섬로나 꿀롱나 망보다 배 산지에 코랑 연된 하고 이거 돼야 되게 꿀롱이 하고서 산지기다 배다 간다 코랑을 비어다 나제 그거도 마방에 이제 다 산지에 배 하고 잡았던 투나 삼바 되게 꿀롱이 아니 지양 가시 아니 거기 자기 최년마 투바 야 루지도는 최년고 봐 근데 뭐를 하고서 샘지 릭 다르다 여러 릭을 따내니 최된 투바 그런 거 하고서 그래서 샘지 그때 가시 자기 돈 최년마 투바 루지도는 최년 투바 되게 두제 여러 이제 좀 해야 된다가 안 되지 지고 있어 그래서 라제가 너무 무슨 배제나 편바로 와 산지게양 시에네 최마송과 두도네 최송고와 양 남주부터 최송고 되게 망보여 이 산지게 유대산이 뭐게 산지게 유대시도 나 동거
아니 드네 아니 거기 지웠대 가르치네데 아니 상기 매배 신감 가르치네 아니 개와 아니 렘바쇼 아니 개얘기 아니 만납답이여래
산지 지진도 준비 개바디 진짜도 요말 산지 지진도 맞으면 때바디 배는 니만 로자이나 상계 지도도 집에 로직 상계 지도도 맞으면 로구지 고고 어디들은 심지어는 로바치 상관 콜롱 상보지
the prayer to teach in silence through expressions of the body is an aspiration made by the Pratyeka Buddha in the moments leading up to the achievement of the arhatship of the Pratyeka Buddha. So it's in that moment just before the achievement of the level of arhatship for the Pratyeka Buddha that they make this aspirational prayer. And silence as a form of austerity or a form of Dharma practice is one reason underlying this aspirational prayer that they make. There's a connection between silence and practice. And so this is one part. And furthermore, there are sentient beings who will respond to the expression of the Buddha Dharma through physicality rather than verbal expressions of the Dharma. So this accommodates for disciples to be tamed who are responsive to physical expressions. And there's another point too, that the Pratyeka Buddha hasn't thoroughly eradicated all arrogance and considers himself as potentially having means at his disposal surpassing the Buddha's own to pacify sentient beings. And so So this is another reason why the Pratyeka Buddha imagines a scenario of a world absent of Buddhas being the place where they will teach through expressions of the body. But also, there are many different qualities of Buddhas that convey the Dharma differently. The Dharma is emitted through the Ushnisha of the Buddha. That is one source of the Dharma, the Ushnisha, the crown protuberance of the Buddha. So there are qualities of body involved in expression of the Dharma, physical aspects of the body that convey the Dharma. And the Buddha, or that rather this Pratyeka Buddha, wishing to be born at a time where Buddhas are absent, is an expression of concern and consideration for sentient beings, because the amount of time that there is in which a Buddha is present is very small compared to the amount of time in which Buddhas are absent. Yet in that time, disciples are to be pacified too. So in 100 years, it would only be 1 year in which there's a Buddha appearing, and the other 99 are years where there's no Buddha. But during those times too, there are disciples to be tamed.
아니 상계 지금도 중국어로 개발 사마디게 상계 기준 전투고 말와 내가 문배 개발스라기와 상계 지금 준비 개발되는 드메 개발 그래서 어디서 가도 미다고 삼는 땅에 쪽에 너네 모두 비지팅들이 비직 말에 미다버에 세 대시 인족이 냠내 나라 아니 어쩌라는 것도 좋아다는 수 상대나 요래서
earlier I described the many eons, the Mahakalpa, the different classifications of eons, and there's the Mahakalpa and others. But in 1,000 eons, 1 eon would be for the Buddha to be present. The remaining 999 are eons of darkness where the Buddha is absent, and so these are known as the dark kalpa, or the dark eon. And then that moment when the Buddha is present is an illuminated eon. And so this further illustrates momentariness and impermanence too.
So how come Buddha don't stay here for 99 years instead of staying for 25 years?
the log yagi nane sangi ani jitensu jumba de and lotigra that richine log gupchu gogu ani negi mare
상계 지금도 전부 가르치는 처말 고가 가라했어. 상계 지금 가르치 처말서 상계 지금도 저와도 샘제기 되죠. 샘제기 되셔도 제 투여를 누바고. 누바고서 소소 샘제는 줄라. 샘제기 상제기 되죠. 최년 투여를 되죠티. 데모도 요 말하고 가르치는 요 말에서는 상계기 샘제를 최 투월라. 먼저는 이중의 삼바생도 고거. 이중의 삼바면나 상계기 샘제를 틀에 지도고 말. 하고서 틀에 지도고 말. 내가 이중의 삼바께 먼저 그 뒤에 미기 샘제기 배 이중 깨 때 뒤에 어디만도 요 말. 하고서 셴바들라 밑에 두고 요 말. 제가 뒤에도 잡아 안 상계기 전 두고 요 말. 어디지 남겨. 제가 이 먹어야
Why is the appearance of a Buddha necessary? The appearance of a Buddha is necessary to carry out the welfare of sentient beings. There must be, in the moment that the Buddha is present, the potential to do just this, carry out the welfare of sentient beings. How is that done? It is done through the attentive listening of an audience that is receptive. And so in order for there to be efficacy in the Buddha and in the Buddha's appearance, there must be renunciation on the part the audience. Without that renunciation, there's no efficacy to the Buddha's involvement. And so it is only in this narrow span of time that there is renunciation sufficient for an audience to be receptive to a Buddha's message. So all the essence of these explanations addressing this question involve our recollection of impermanence, our recollection of the force of the argument that you must practice the Dharma now and mustn't squander a single moment. All of this is fleeting and momentary. All of this is bound up in your question.
Yeah, that's what
Oh yeah, so if there are no more questions, this is the end of the hour. And then no more questions, so shall we recite our closing prayers?
Oh yeah, Jamru Chebe, Jamru Chini Chebala, Tene, and Maranzo, Raji, started leg, you more to buttons of however, you'll draw to a chick. And then they let Tene run the bay, Yawa Chanjula, really shake, I love you to what you like, Yawa, the Nietzsche. Oh yeah, that in it, they let Tene, anything around the time. It was with Jambrookish, you let Tene, anything, dancing around the day, Koyu to do no Nemo Shiva, Neam Motu Shiva. And it's suggestion that Resindala and be chilled. Jambrooki, you love it, and the Young Chidola, and you know the cheese so much.
And now, as we have we've considered refuge, we have provided instruction in the Dharma relating to refuge and listened, and thereby accumulated virtue. And may this virtue then become cause for the thorough eradication of mental afflictions and negativities, and be cause for the development of realization of the trainings in the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment. And as this is a Mahayana refuge that we have engaged in, may the virtue of doing so alleviate, bring an end to all violent conflict in the world, and pandemics and illness, and make possible the well-being and contentment of sentient beings.
Rangi jishin tobe lanji ne shudra tsebe change kaki doe yiji mba seje ne jave tenpa yudre zinchi tenpa renchen choji majava janya nyamba yudre choje Inje jimbu yiro jiwa yi pende teje sewa jeba sho seje nyawe mejun chile le leju chanju lanje rende ya tade nanje yila pede je nyawe zeba rendu kyangere je Azan rube tunje ruje jenge seje medan nime Tera kondo nyewe mampai nanda landa jawa pajuji Kanze Tiba Jola Shujuji Tsuji Ruba Tsukwa Deyi Tuden Namgi Tatu Roji Taji Yalu Chugi Gyagir Shishi.
From my two collections, vast in space that I have amassed, from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose mind's wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my life. May I find the bestest of paths, the complete teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path that I have discerned. May I hold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I offer this treasure of happiness to aid all sentient beings. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by following the complete graduated paths of enlightenment and the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all the human and non-human beings that eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path raised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread over them.
Dagi Chini Sade Gewa Di Tendam Roa Tendam Kevara Chesu Gozon Rabbi Tendam Nimbor Endo Seje Sho Kare Rave Gove Jingande Tendam Dewa Madu Jumpe Kere Zewan Tenzin Gyasu Yi Shabe Sidi Bandu Tenkirchi Shabe Bawo Jeda Kemba Kundu Sambo Deyan Dejen Teda Kunye Jezo Dalo Je Yewa Deda Tamje Ratu Kusun Shebe Yewa Tamje Ge Moba Kala Chutu Dagi Yewen Samon Digurya Sambo Juje Radu Ye Chanjo Sancho Rembo Ju Maye Bana Jiruji Yewa Nyamba Mebaya Gone Gondo Bewa Sho.
I dedicate whatever virtues I have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losam Drapa to shine forever. In the land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good, all powerful Chinas and Tenzin Gyatso. Please remain until cyclic existence is ended. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by the victorious self-bound one the 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva deed. May the supreme Lord Bodhisattva that has not arisen rise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Okay, thank you. And now, during the coming week, meditate on the descent and purification of the nectars.
Thank you.